BBC Radio Lancashire Sport. Now, John Cofie is back in Lancashire after leaving Burnley in 2007 to join Manchester United as a 14-year-old. Well, fast forward to 2020 and his football career on the pitch is over after spells playing around the world and some time in non-league as well. He was a boarder at Moorland's private school in Clitheroe when he played for the Clarets, and an invitation to return somewhere familiar became too much to turn down. I went to go and see him this week. Well, we're here at Moorland's private school in Clitheroe. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. We're at the International Football Academy with the head of football development, Charlie Jackson, and John Cofie. Charlie, just give us an idea of what Moorland's school is like for football.
Well, we take them in from the age of 4, hopefully progressing them right through to the senior school, developing them as people, as footballers, and seeing where we're going to take them, if they're good enough for academies or good enough for just being a good grassroots player. And
there's a really good reputation here that players have started at that young age and have gone on to make it.
We've had Joe Grayson, who's at Blackburn. He came in at 4 and has made his debut. Same with Stefan Moles, he came in at 7. We've had, obviously, John Cofie here, who's with us, who went on to Man United, and then Niall Mason, who's now at Peterborough. So we've had a fair few, and then we've had me personally, Scott McTominay has come through working with me a little bit early on, and then we've had players. Ollie Crankshaw's just made his debut for Wigan recently. He came to me as well. But from the school perspective, we've had some great talent come through the school, which reflects as well as we win titles and do well in local cups and stuff.
Just give us an idea when a child comes to this school and you see them play, at what point do you think you can have a good idea whether they will play to some sort of standard? I'm not saying play in the Premier League 500 times, but to play to a standard. Yeah,
usually 5. A 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, you can usually tell whether they've got a appetite or a hunger to be a footballer, and then as you start developing them throughout the years, you start creating this hunger and a desire and a passion, and then they want it, you can tell. And then the ones who are not quite fall short of that, they usually go on to be good grassroots players or non-league players. We've had a few of them in the past as well.
So how often do they play when they're here?
We get lessons. It's part of the curriculum at the school. So they tend to get maybe between 8 and 10 lessons a week, and then games as well. So we play all over the country because we enter independent schools cups and English schools cups, plus Lancashire cups. They get plenty of exposure.
It's an impressive venue. I mean, to come and work here, and on a day like today when the sun's shining, there's no better place to be in Lancashire, is there?
I don't think so. I think it's on a great day like this, it's beautiful. On a bad day, it's windy and it's cold. But on the whole, we're very lucky to have the backdrop we have here.
John, really nice to see you. Thanks for speaking to us today. Your relationship with this school has not just begun, has it? Just give us an idea of when you first came to Moorland.
I came here, I think, started at year 9. I come obviously because of football. I was playing for Burnley at the time, so I started year 9 here to become a boarder, so I can travel and go to training. Because my mum and dad were based in Germany at the time still. My dad is in the army, so I came here, I met Mr. Jackson obviously, and then we looked around the school, and it was perfect for me really to play football at school and go into training and do what I need to do at training. So it was an easy option for me to come here and hit the ground running.
Just give us an idea what it's like, and as someone who's year 9, who comes to live in Britain, who is living in Germany with his family. What's it like to come and board at a school and meet all these people that you've never met before?
It wasn't a big issue. Like, I'm originally from Ghana, so like growing up there, I had to grow up quick. So like mentally I was matured beyond my ages. So coming here wasn't an issue for me at all. But obviously getting to meet new people, new staff, new teachers, being away from home wasn't easy to start off with. But the lads that I had here at school, obviously, sir, and that, it was really good. Like, they were good to me, they welcomed me in. They didn't really have much of a choice. I was coming regardless, so, but it was really good. They helped me settle in really quick, so it was nice.
So you're playing with Burnley and being here. You're travelling from here to Gawthorpe, the old training ground at Burnley.
Yeah, so I used to train twice a week. So Jeff would come, I would go to school as normal, and Jeff Taylor would come and pick me up on a Tuesday night, and then take me to training, and after training bring me back, and then the same on Thursdays, and I would go and stay in Burnley at my Diggs lady's house, who's called Suzanne, still I keep in touch with, by the way. I used to stay at her house and play games on Saturdays, and then back to school again on a Sunday night. So that was the routine, yeah.
Sounds like fun
Yeah, it
for
was
someone
amazing.
that age.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good, yeah.
Charlie, when John comes to you and you see him play, what's your first thoughts?
He was an athlete, absolute athlete. He could run. I've never seen anybody run as quick as this kid when he first came. We put a bit of development in. He spent a lot of hours together down there. We spent quite a few hours in the afternoon in small groups, then on his own, just working technical with him. And he's the best I've worked with, for sure, out of all of them. I think his attitude, his hunger. He talked about meeting somebody early. This kid had it from an early... And you know what? He played grassroots, didn't care if it was United or anywhere. He'd play. He'd just play. That's all. That was John. He didn't care whether it was with his mates or whether it was superstars. He didn't really care as long as he played, and that was summed John up really.
When did you first kick a ball, John?
It's weird when I get asked this question. Like, obviously back at home, I used to play football with my friends, like on the streets and that, but I never ever was I growing up thinking, oh, I want to be a footballer. Never. I remember when we lived in Germany, like, I wanted to join the army to start with. And then obviously my dad went to war in Iraq and my mum didn't sleep for months, so I thought negative, I'm not doing that. So that idea went out of my head. So obviously Burnley come to Germany, they used to play with the army kids. And then I remember we played against them, my team in the army, we played against them, and my dad got a phone call that night saying, oh yeah, we like him. Like I said, I had no intention in my mind of playing football. So I spoke to my dad, he spoke to a few of his friends. They played against Mönchengladbach, I think. So I played for them. I did really well, and then they decided that they're going to basically, at the age of 13, I was 13 at the time, they're going to fly me over every 2 weeks to play home games for them. So before I moved there, that was the routine I had. It was really good, like it was fun. Like I said, when I started playing football, I just wanted to play football. It didn't really matter where or where.
Charlie says you were the quickest. What position was always your best?
To be honest, I didn't really have a position either. I was one of them, like, just tell me to go and play football and I'll play to my best ability and work hard for you. But if you like tell me to do certain things, like if you put me up front and say run the channels or come and get the ball to feet, I didn't like listening to stuff like that because I just wanted to play my football. And that's when I get my best out of myself. Burnley understood that. That's the good thing that I was at Burnley. They understood that. Like they understood that we should just let this kid do what he wants to do. And like I used to, at the age of 13, I was playing for the Resis at Burnley and still scoring goals every weekend. So they got that, but obviously as time goes on, things change. You meet managers, they don't get you, you don't get them, and it is what it is.
From a coach's perspective, Charlie, how do you cope with someone like John, who is a free spirit?
John's just hit it on the head, I think. The minute we met, we got on because I understood him. And you can put him into some of the drills that we were doing down there, which was like, they are quite thought-provoking. And to get John to do them, at first he struggled, and then he started to pick them up. And then you learn from what John was doing. He is a free soul, he does what he wants. And I think managers understand. I understood that from probably the second or third week, to be honest with John. What I knew and what I spoke to other coaches who knew him, said you can't manage him, but you need to understand him to get the best out of him. And he's never once in all the time I've not let me down once on the pitch, in the training session or anywhere else. And I think that's the best I can say about him, is that he's an honest boy. And I think misunderstood, no. I think he's just, people got to understand what he is, and he play. I think he can still do it now. He's such a free spirit, and I think John touched upon Burnley there, letting him do basically what he wanted on the pitch. That's why he went for the fee he did. Yeah. After that, you know, you go back and you dwell on those years, that when he was 14 years old, that was the best. That's how I can remember John. That's how I can remember John playing, watching games when he first went to United. He was unbelievable. I wouldn't even tell him I'd go and watch him at Altrincham playing for the Resis in the 18s. And he was the best player on the pitch. I know we talk about the superstars, but he was the best player on the pitch by a mile. And I'm looking at it from a non-biased point of view. I used to sit there with a few scouts and friends I knew and say, watch this kid, and they all came up with the same opinion. So this kid is world class. He's absolutely world class, and it was just. But you've got to let him play. You've got to let him do what he wants to do on the pitch, because he would run through brick walls for you, and still would, I think. Well, maybe not for me. No.
When you were catching the eye, John, what was the best position that you were getting the most joy from?
I think the best position was the centre half. I think the centre half, you know, you look back and you dwell on those years, that when he was 14 years old, that was the best. That's how I can remember John. I
I don't know, it's weird to like describe it because it's like I was all over the pitch, but I was scoring goals. So people would just assume, oh yeah, he's a striker. Because I remember like I was playing under 14s. I started off at Burnley. Was playing. I used to score like 6-7 goals a game. And I remember Vince pulled me one game, and they said to me, "Oh, this is getting ridiculous. You have to move up an age group." Went to under 16s, and I was doing the same. Pulled me again. Then obviously I went to Resis. Then I went to Resis. Obviously I wasn't scoring as many goals, but I was scoring still. I think when United come in, they just assumed, oh yeah, because he's scoring all these goals, he's a striker. So they just decided, yeah, he's a striker. But I didn't really have any position in mind. As long as I wasn't put in defence, I could play anywhere on the pitch. Yeah.
You didn't want to play in defence?
Nah, definitely not. I had no intentions of doing that. Yeah.
In terms of training drills then, Charlie's just said that, some of them were not the correct ones for you. Why not?
But to be fair, like, with what Sir does, in terms of the matrix, I came to school just knowing how to play football. Technically, I could play football, I could run, I was an athlete. Technically, I wasn't the most gifted. But obviously, like, doing the matrix and that, because it's all short drills, pass and move, doing a few tricks in the sessions and stuff like that, and that really added that to my game. And at first, like you said, I didn't get it. It's pretty tough mentally. You have to think. But once I got it was unbelievable. Like literally, I could do it for hours and I would be sweating, and it was amazing. But that was the thing. Like everything, when something is new to you, obviously it takes time to grasp. And then once I got it, it was incredible. So, thanks, sir.
Charlie, if we just go back to 2007, remembering back to then, I mean, it's 13 years ago now, but it in some ways it doesn't seem like it, that John is subject of transfer activity from Manchester United for an awful lot of money for a very young player, not even a grown-up, who is playing above his age level. What were your thoughts? Were you worried at that point, thinking this could be too much too soon?
Very, very worried, because obviously the school we forged a reputation of developing players. We had some good players before John came who just quite went there. Joe had started at that same age, so we knew we had some great 4- and 5-year-olds at the school and 6-year-olds and some young academy players coming through. My concern was the knock-on effect that would have on as a school, because we are great at what we do as a school. We're brilliant at producing and developing players and nurturing players on, but the age was a big thing, because I think at the time it was a British record, and the money that was laboured, and I was reading daily tabloids like the Mail and the Guardian, broadsheets with pictures of John in, and I thought, this boy, he's 13. And to be fair to him, he didn't care. He really didn't care. He wasn't bothered who was picking him up from training, who'd get him home. To be honest, didn't affect him, I don't think, but it could have done. So I think the way it was handled, because obviously newspapers get all the things, they build it up, it was the big thing. But I think at the time, it was more to do with protection of the other kids at the school as well, because obviously he was going for, we knew he was going to go, there was numerous clubs in for him, but it was just protecting what we already had here. You don't want to be labelled as doing it for the wrong reasons, do you know what I mean? But I think with John, it didn't really affect your mindset, I don't think, did it, to be honest with you? He was quite laid back as he is now. It's the same as what he is now. It's manana with Johnny. But I think that's how he is as a person. It could have, at the time, probably affected him in hindsight.
When you're being spoken about, John, for a lot of money, as a very young boy, what are your thoughts?
Like Sir said, to be honest, nothing. I just wanted to play football. Like, I think people around me was raving about it more than I was. So I didn't, like I said, give me a football and let me play, and that's about it. Money, I came from nothing, and I'm going to live this world with nothing, so money means nothing to me. So I just wanted to play football. Like, I remember a few of my friends like, oh, I went to the training at Burnley, and they were like, oh, you're going to go, you're going to go. It didn't make any difference to me. I think Steve Cottrell wanted me to go more than I did. I didn't really care. Anywhere that I was playing football was where my happiness was, so that, it didn't really register to me how much I was going for. I mean, it made no difference to the intention I went to United with. So,
do you think it maybe helped with your background that you've not spent your entire childhood in the UK knowing what maybe the British media is like, that are constantly speculating about transfers, and you're kind of blissfully unaware of it?
No, probably, but even if I knew, even if I was aware of it, like I said, I'm true to myself. I'm always going to be my own person, regardless of the situation. I'm never going to live my life to please any human being. I live my life to please God. That's about it. I speak to my mom on a daily basis. We talk about stuff. And I would not come and sit here and lie to you, lie to Sir, lie to anyone. I'm the most honest person that you come across in your life. I have no need to lie to anybody. So in terms of football, in terms of the price, in terms of what the media do, if they put a camera in front of me at the age of 13 asking me, what do you think about this, what do you think about that, I told them exactly what I've just said to you right now. I'm not bothered. I just want to play football, and that was that.
When you walk into a club like Manchester United, though, did you have anyone to help you? Did you have anyone to be a shoulder to lean on, to say, this is just something that I never expected at such an early age?
But this is the thing. This is the reason why I took this job, because I was meant to go to the Philippines to play there before Mr. Harrison called me. So this is the reason why I took this job. Like, to answer your question, no, I didn't have that United. I didn't have that United at all. Went in there, but to be fair, like I said, mentally I was wiser beyond my age. So I just went in there and I knew I just wanted to play football. So I went in there despite the fact, the lads, don't get me wrong, the lads were amazing. But I I didn't get a single coach put me to the side to say, oh yeah, this is how we do things, rare. None of that. So, like I said, this is how I took this job. There's way more to football than what's in your feet. Way more to it. Like, obviously, that's what I'm trying to pass on to these kids. I want them to understand that just because you can play football doesn't mean you're going to make it. It's tough. It's a tough world, so...
Do you think in that respect things have changed a little bit in the last 13 years? You say nobody told you what they expected. Nobody told you what was happening. Do you think now in 2020 we live in a different world a little bit, that there are more people who are there to give you information?
I should hope so. I should hope clubs have noticed and clocked on that as players, younger players especially, you need it. You need these things. Most players are not even from England. Most players come from overseas and play. You have to live in digs and that. So, of course, it's hard enough leaving your family behind and coming here playing football. And football is demanding, mentally, physically, everything. So it's not easy. So I think I hope clubs are clocked onto these things, and they're bringing people in to speak to players and stuff about situations and that.
I mean this in the nicest possible way, John. Charlie, did you expect John to go on and be a superstar with Manchester United?
Yeah, I did.
Wow. Did you see that pause there?
No. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think with him being such a high-profile player, and we still kept in touch after John had left, and he's trying to give advice, but he lives his life. He's lived his life for John. So whatever advice I could give him, or his previous managers or his current manager would give him, he lives his life for John. And I think John, and I say it now, I still think he could play at a really good level now and still prove to himself he can do it. And I think there'd be a lot of raised eyebrows at the time when he went for that sort of fee. But I didn't doubt that was the price of a 14-year-old boy at the time. We don't make the prices, but I think if you were to look back on it now, and currently if he was 14 now and he was doing what he did now, you'd be looking at a £20 million player. I'm not saying it's money, isn't it? But that's what he is, and I think as a footballer, I say he's the best of the bunch. When he won the FA Youth Cup, and you had superstar players in that group there, it was 4 or 5, he was the best of the bunch for me. And I keep saying that because he was just such a good player. And there were things that he could do with a ball stuck to. I mean, he was random. He was he'd just pick. I mean, I was watching some of the stuff over the weekend on YouTube. He didn't know what he was doing himself, but that's what sometimes footballers, it wasn't a George Best, because George Best was a different player, but George Best would play off the cuff. That was John. There was flashes of genius in John that I don't think he knew he had, and I think maybe that's needing nurturing and managing at the time, and we would have been looking at something different a little bit. But I've got him back with me now, which is fantastic, nurturing and passing on to the Moorland kids, which is hopefully will produce our next superstars.
John, did you, when you were at Manchester United, did you have all the belief in the world that you would play for Manchester United for I don't know how many years? Did you feel that you'd make it with them?
I not for once do I ever doubt my ability. Up to now, I know I can play football. It's just if I want to or not. But yeah, as I was at United, and don't get me wrong, I came across some really talented boys. I mean, like Sir said, you have the likes of Paul Pogba, Ravel Morrison, Jesse Lingard, the Keane brothers. They were all in my team and they were good players. But as a footballer, if you want to make it, if you want to like bring the best out of you, you have to play among the best, literally. But I didn't doubt my ability 1 second, and I never thought like I wasn't going to make it or anything like that. I didn't go in there scared, just went in there for this year. Obviously, this is going to be way more tougher than Burnley, but I'm more than ready for it. So, yeah, I went in there with the right mindset, so it was all right.
And when you reflect on it now, a few years on, were there things that you look back on and think, I wish I'd have done that, I wish I'd have done that, or can you not live your life like that?
Yeah, I don't dwell on the past because she can't change the past. But if there's anything that I'd love to change, I think because I appreciated the players that I played with. I appreciate them more because when I moved on from there and played in other clubs, obviously you make runs and you don't get the passes and it's difficult. So I think that's the only thing that I would say that I should have appreciated more. But thinking back, there's no decision that I made that I think, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done this way or that way. Like I said, in life, with me anyway, I'll give you what you give me. You give me respect, I'll give you back. If you treat me disrespectfully, I'll give you back. It's simple as that. So at any club that went, I give them what they gave me. Simple.
More to come from John Cofie in just a moment. It's BBC Radio Lancashire at 19 minutes to 7.
Get tonight sorted with his Dark Materials.
After hundreds of years, no more oppression, no more darkness.
There is an organisation that is stealing children.
The child is destined to be important.
I'm ready to fight.
His Dark Materials. All episodes streaming now on BBC iPlayer.
Now, back to our interview with John Cofie, who was the most expensive 14-year-old in football when he left Burnley for Manchester United back in 2007. After representing a variety of clubs after it didn't work out for him at Old Trafford, he's decided to call it a day from playing to take up a role at Moorland Private School in Clitheroe, a place that he knows well. Well, last week I caught up with him and the school's head of football development, Charlie Jackson. Was there a point, Charlie, that you're following John's career and you thought to yourself, it's not happening? Why is it not happening?
Knowing John as I know him, he can't change the past. I think there was a lot of... John's got a strong will, and if he doesn't want to do something that he feels is not right, who's for me to tell him anything else? I think at the time, I did show his frustrations with him over certain decisions that were being made out of his hands and things like that. But like he said himself, at the end of the day, he's in charge of his destiny and he can't change what's happened. And I'm sure other players who've played alongside him, and they'll tell it as it is as well, I'm sure, like I am. They'll tell me they're playing with a footballer who's not just, let's just, put into perspective, being a footballer is one thing, being off the field is another. And I think anybody's got a friend, he's got a great friendship with John. I've got a friend for life because he's got an infectious smile. He's got an infectious. He's an honest to God lad, and I think that people will think, yeah, great footballer, potentially could have been one of the best. But moreover, he's a great lad. I get more out of that than I do thinking about what's gone on in the past.
John, just at United, in the years you were there, they were arguably the best team in Europe for a long time, one of the leading teams in the world. When you worked with some of the players that you did, who was just the most talented?
On pure talent, I'll say Ravel Morrison. That guy can do things with football that I'd never seen before. And it's obviously that you see the best in people when you train with them day in, day out. Don't get me wrong, obviously you have your Paul Pogbas, you have your just Lingards. But Rav, I'm surprised, like, people think, like, my career, they thought I was going to go somewhere. But with him, when I think about him, like, I think he's playing for a team in Holland now, I'm think. But he should be, like, at the toppest team in the world. He should be at Barcelona, playing for England, every international call. But God directed our paths. So our path really is out of our hands, but Rav was the one.
I know you made the point a few minutes ago that you said when you leave United and you go and play for other teams and you make a run and people don't pick you out because you're probably seeing 2 or 3 passes ahead of other players who are not naturally as talented. Is that a lot harder than it is playing for Manchester United?
In fact, it is. This one thing that I always say, that I was raised to play football. That I was brought up at United to play football. I was brought up here to play football. So, like, when you leave United and you start going to lower divisions, that obviously back in the day as well, not a lot of managers played football. It's just all from front to back. And if you don't know how to play that style of football, it makes you look worse than you already are. It was like, I remember once I was Southport, I was sat on the bench with Ashley Grimes. And Grimesy technically is a great player. And I remember I was just talking to him, I said, do you know what, yeah, football is not for me. Like literally, because it's like fighting. It's like fighting literally in the non-league. It's like fighting, and I just said to him, this is not my game. I wasn't like the thing with, obviously, like we have the Vardy thing where he's come from non-league to the Premier League, so it's different. But I went the other direction. So from the Premier League to the other way is not the same whatsoever. But I do miss the passing and that. I miss that a lot from United. Like obviously they had Pogba, David Petrucci, Ryan Tunnicliffe, all of them. There wasn't a single pass they couldn't find. Sometimes they were passing it and I was running for it. It was that good, yeah.
Did you find that when you did go down the levels, people talked about you? Your name's announced over a time where John Cofie's playing. He was at Manchester United. He must be brilliant.
Yeah. People did talk about me. Like, I think I can still get up tomorrow and have a team to play in because I've got United on my CV. Because Alex Ferguson brought me to Manchester United. And everybody knows his track record. He knows football. So, yeah, like, being at United, it was incredible. Don't get me wrong. It was to have on my CV is incredible. Like I said, if I want to get back to football, managers will look at my CV and be like, oh, yeah, he was at United, rare. But that's not where we're at the moment. Obviously, like I said, playing with all them lads, being there, playing football and just enjoying myself was the main thing for me.
You've been around the world a little bit, haven't you?
Yes.
Playing football in different places. What's that experience been like, John?
It's been really good. Like, obviously, being an army kid, travelling is in our blood anyway. So your dad gets posted, you follow them around and stuff like that. But it's been good. I mean, I've been Belgium, been Australia, been Norway, and a few other places, been Iceland, I think. But yeah, there's a few more that I can't think on the top of my head right now. But it's been, you know what I mean? It's been amazing. It's like some people, I've been lucky enough and I've been fortunate enough to have football to do this with. Some people spend a lot of money to go travelling. And luckily for me, I can say that I've been paid to go travelling, if that makes sense. But it's been incredible, yeah.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about that. I mean, Charlie, when you heard that John was reaching a point at 27 that he didn't think it was right for him to carry on, what were you thinking?
I think we'd had a discussion, me and the headmaster, Mr. Harrison, about the potential of bringing John back. I mean, we've stayed in touch for years, on and off, and in different capacities. And Mr. Harrison said, "What about bringing him back and having him back here as a mentor / coach to help the other kids?" And I think, great idea. Let's have a chat. So we got him into chat, and he's come back. He started in September. He's been unbelievable. The kids love him. We have kids from all over the world. So we've got kids coming from Kenya. We've got kids from Italy, Spain, and we've had them from America. So having John, who's, like I said, he's been overseas, he gets it. He's a former boarder. Forget the footballing history, but so he understands the homesickness and missing parents, all that sort of things. I think, and then having him here as from a football perspective has been great because, you know, he's been here under me. He still calls me sir, which is great, how it should be. He gets it. He understands it. So I think when the children are looking for advice, I can just send them to somewhere. So it's having that. It's a bit of a novelty at the minute. So I'm still working on it. I'm going to speak to Mr. Cofie. So I think that's also helpful. And he's also quite happy to share the stuff he's not been successful at and the stuff he's more than happy. And I think it's more of a person to do that than it is about the football.
Had you worked with children before, John?
Not really. I've got a 2-year-old, that's about it. But yeah, but not really. But to be honest, like when I said yes to coming in here, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. But I also knew that I had support. So obviously he was there to like bounce off and stuff like that. So it was a new challenge, but I don't scare away from challenges. There's nothing that I go into that I know that I can handle. So, but like I said, I walk with God in my life, so I let God direct my steps. So literally I come in here, I spoke to my mum, we prayed about it, and it was meant to be, so here I am.
It's very easy to come here and just watch for a few minutes your relationship with the kids. Yeah. I spent a long time working with children in coaching and summer camps and things like that, and I think some people either have it or they don't. Yeah. and some people have to really, really, really work hard at it. Just by the way you spoke to them, you appeared a bit of a natural. Do you find that it's come to you quite naturally to get on with kids?
It's mad, really, because with kids, it's the same. It's weird. I'm like a big child in my head myself. They will give you what you give them. I spoke to obviously the juniors are the easy ones to have because they know what is what. If you come to football and you don't behave, you're gonna sit out next week. They have no choice. They love football, so they'll come and behave. The seniors, obviously, you have to have a different approach. But I spoke to them as soon as I walked in there. I said to them, respect works both ways. You give me some and I'll give you back. And literally, there's been nothing but just talk, going back and forth, and just them listening and doing what's right. But at the end of the day, they know how far to push it. And I don't tolerate anything that I'm not supposed to. If you don't want to be there and learn, I said to them, I'm here to teach and I'm here to give you advice, and that if you want to take it on board, that's on you. I'm not going to force it on you. So if you're willing to learn, then I'm more than happy to teach. But if not, then you can sit and don't disrupt somebody that's willing to learn.
Charlie, are you seeing signs of a natural working with kids?
Yeah, I mean, he's like I say, he's a big kid. I'm a big kid at heart. He's having two big kids. It's like kindergarten cop. We are like children ourselves, so we can relate to the kids. The older ones, like John said, they're a bit more difficult to handle. They're going through hormones and all the other stuff, but they get it. When I've been here since 2002, so they understand, what's been produced in the past and there's living proof right in front of them. So if they don't get it, they'll then, like John said, it's them to them. That you can bring the horse to water, literally, can't you? But
it's early days, John, but do you see it as a new career?
Yeah, it is early days. You're right. But to be fair, I've been enjoying it. I've been having a blast since I've been here. You know what I mean? The staff are good. Jackson's all right.
Thanks.
But you know what I mean? It's nice. I like to wake up in the morning. I don't ever want to wake up in my life and feel like about going to work. And so far, I don't feel like that here. So I enjoy coming to work. So it could be, hopefully.
And was football doing that to you?
Yes, it got to a point like that. It got to a point where I woke up and I didn't really fancy going to training. But that's not because of football. That's because of the people that I was working with, if that makes sense. Because of the managers that I was surrounded myself with. Like I told you before, I'm an honest guy, and there's not a single ounce of honesty in the game of football now. And I don't want to, life is short, I don't want to live my life in a lie. I don't want to lie to anybody. I'm a realist, so anything that doesn't make me happy, I want to stay far away from. And football was getting to that point, so I had to make the decision to step back. I was going to get, I don't know, could have gone in direction, really. So I'm glad I made that decision. Like, I couldn't be happier right now, to be honest.
It's a big statement to make about what football's like now, John, when you could have easily had another 10 years of playing professionally, couldn't you?
That's true. Like I said before, it's true, you're right in what you're saying. But in life, we're all different people. Some people are motivated by money. I'm motivated by happiness. I'd rather have £2 in my bank than £1 million in my bank. As long as I'm happy, that's what matters. I'll take that £2 and be happy and take the happiness rather than have £1 million and be miserable. Because at the end of the day, we're here for a short while. If you're not going to enjoy it, then I don't see the point in being here at all.
I take the £1 million and be happy.
I must just ask you, John, we cover the fortunes of Burnley Football Club every week. We go to every Premier League game and talk to the manager all the time. I'm sure it's a club that is still close to you from your first club in England. Do you follow their fortunes a lot?
I love Burnley. I've loved Burnley from day one. Like, anything that I've done in my football career was down to Burnley. And you asked me a question before if I regret any decision I made in the past. And if I was old enough to know the game as I do now, I would have stayed at Burnley. So I have a lot of love for Burnley Football Club, and obviously I do follow them, but I've not been to Gothorpe for a while. I think maybe I need to take a trip there and have a look around and stuff. It would be good.
It'd bring back some memories, wouldn't it?
It would be. I mean, obviously I was there. Jay Rodriguez was there at the same time when I was there as well, so hopefully, he might not remember me, but
I'm sure he would, John.
But yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be really good.
Just from watching football, Charlie, as you will undoubtedly do, what do you think of it without football supporters? It appears I go every week to football matches, and it is a completely different experience. And I might be completely wrong in saying this, but I think we're going to see some teams finish in quite bizarre league positions this season, largely because nobody is at home and nobody's away.
I think the players, how they must feel. I think it was a bit of a novelty after lockdown when they first came back, and playing in empty grounds. It must have brought some years back when they played in the reserves in the 18s. But I think now the season's underway and it's going, and you're seeing cardboard fans sat there and false sound around the ground. It's bizarre, really. And I think from a spectator watching it from TV, you watch it, but it doesn't feel. It feels a bit weird. It's not right, and you're just waiting for the day when the government say, can we start allowing fans back into the grounds? I think it's needed sooner rather than later to put most of the clubs. We're not talking about the financial side of it. They're going to suffer, but I mean, obviously, life's come first. But football has always been our game in this country, and I think from a mental standpoint, I know a lot of fans, obviously, especially local Blackburn, Burnley, Bolton, Preston, Accrington, must be missing it because it's their life. It is their life. So to not have that and watching it on TV doesn't feel the same. I think sat in a bar watching it doesn't feel the same, and I think it's missing. But I think the players' welfare and the mental state must be suffering because that's all they're used to, and that's what they paid a lot of money to do for some of them, to play in front of big crowds. And I think the results are spectacular at the minute, and I think they're going to be like that all year, unless the fans can get back in the grounds.
Just a final point on it, John. Do you know players from your career that will absolutely love the fact that there are no fans in? Because no one can affect them?
No, I've spoken to a few of them and they find it extremely weird because, well, the people that I know and like the feed of the fans. I mean, I know Pogba, and he's a showman. You know what I mean? He's a showman. Obviously, lately he's not really been at his best, but he's a showman. So, like, I think without the fans being there, I'll be shocked to speak to anyone that I know that's in the Prem that will say, oh yeah, I prefer the fans not being there because that would just be weird. But people that I've spoke to, like, they're just saying it's weird. It's just strange just hearing yourself and hearing your managers shouting. I mean, if you're playing in that big stadium, you tend to want to run away from your managers a lot. You don't want to hear them, like, if you go in the changing room and they say, oh yeah, I told you to do this, why didn't you do it? Oh yeah, I couldn't hear you because of the fans. But you can't hide away from it now. You can hear everything, but they find it extremely weird.
Can't wait till it's back to normal. Just a final one, Charlie, and we thank you for your time today. How's 2020 been at a school like this? It must have been just the most strange time to work. It's been
from a football perspective, we played a semi-final in March, we beat Brookhouse, which is one of our closest rivals. To get to a final, that couldn't be played, so we were given joint champions. And for the kids not to play that in the last year of school, it's heartbreaking, really. And then not to have the GCSEs as a normal regime, it's odd. I mean, we've got back now. We've been back since September, and it feels normal, but it's a weird normal. It doesn't feel like, because you're seeing on the news every day. There's lockdowns and there's different things happening that could affect us, but we carry on as normal. We've been open for business. Mr. Lightbound, our admissions officer, has been busy doing virtual tours and seeing people and talking to people and there. So, this is not going to carry on forever. So we've just got to carry on as normal and make the best of a situation as we can.
Really great to be at Moorland, a private school in Clitheroe last week. A really lovely experience. The atmosphere between the staff who worked there was absolutely electric. So many smiles and laughs throughout the day, and the children really, really enjoying being tutored by Charlie there, you heard from, and John Cofie, who looks like he's having fun after deciding to call time on his playing career.